You know that moment when the air in the room thickens? Like the weight of unspoken regrets pressing down on your chest? That's how it started for me. Owen Hargrove. Sitting in that sterile conference room on the 23rd floor of our sleek Manhattan office tower. The kind of place where dreams of Silicon Valley success crash into the cold reality of boardroom betrayals. Trevor Kingsley. Our hotshot VP of Operations, fresh from some Ivy League MBA program. All polished loafers and rehearsed charisma, slid a glossy termination folder across the mahogany table. His smile was the kind that didn't reach his eyes. More like a predator sizing up its meal. "Ethan, you've missed your targets," he said. Voice dripping with that false empathy executives pull out like a cheap parlor trick. Ethan Mallory didn't react. Not a flinch. Not a protest. He just sat there. Mid-40s. Wire-rimmed glasses perched on a face etched with lines from years of late-night code reviews and vendor negotiations. His hands, steady as ever, picked up the pen. But in that split second before the ink hit the paper, I caught it, a flicker in his eyes, like a storm brewing behind a calm sea. He signed his name with deliberate strokes, then added a tiny notation beside it for Clause 14C. At the time, it meant nothing to me. Just legalese. A footnote in the chaos of corporate downsizing. But oh, how wrong I was. That signature wasn't an end. It was the quiet ignition of a fuse that would burn everything to the ground. Ethan handed over his security badge without a word, placing a thick black binder on the edge of the desk like he was leaving behind a poison chalice. No outburst. No parting shot. Just that eerie composure. The kind born from deep-seated hurt. From years of being overlooked while holding the company's fragile spine together. He nodded once at me, not Trevor, and walked out. His footsteps echoing down the hallway like a final, unspoken accusation. Trevor leaned back, already pulling up his email, muttering about streamlining for growth as if he'd just solved world hunger. I waited until he sauntered off to his mid-afternoon gym session, because that's what self-proclaimed visionaries do when the real work piles up, before I reached for the binder. It felt heavier than it should. Like it carried the weight of buried secrets. No label. Just a sticky note. Owen. Ensure they read this thoroughly. My fingers trembled as I flipped it open. There it was, the Master Services Agreement with Apex Dynamics. Our backbone vendor. The contract that powered our entire operation, cloud infrastructure, data encryption, client portals, everything. I'd skimmed it before, but never dove into the annexes. Too busy firefighting daily crises. Annex E was tabbed, Service Continuity Provisions. My gut twisted as I read Clause 14C. All service guarantees and licensing obligations shall remain in effect solely during the active employment of the designated continuity officer. Any termination shall constitute a material breach, voiding all commitments herein. And below it, in bold, designated continuity officer, Ethan Mallory. The room spun. I knocked over my coffee, the hot liquid soaking my pants, but I barely felt it. My mind raced back to the memos Ethan had sent months ago. Flagged in red, critical risk, continuity tied to single personnel. Recommend redundancy. We'd all ignored them. Buried under quarterly targets and Trevor's endless push for agile scaling. Now, that oversight was a noose tightening around our necks. The office hummed with oblivious chatter, someone laughing at a meme. Printers whirring, but inside me, panic clawed its way up. Trevor waltzed back in, sipping some overpriced sparkling water. Feet up on the desk. Feels good to trim the fat. Right? Now we can really innovate. I didn't respond. I was too busy cross-referencing the digital MSA on my laptop, heart pounding like a drum in my ears. There it was again. Ethan's name underlined as the linchpin. Apex wasn't just a vendor. They were our lifeblood. Without them, we'd crumble like a house of cards in a hurricane. Trevor, I whispered, shoving the binder at him. You just pulled the plug on everything. He chuckled. That infuriating laugh of someone who's never faced real consequences. Come on, Owen. It's boilerplate. Legal scare tactics. But his phone buzzed, our in-house counsel. Sarah. He answered with his usual swagger. But within seconds, his face drained of color, jaw clenching like he'd bitten into something sour. What do you mean? Immediate hold. He listened, nodding blankly, then hung up, staring at the wall. What the hell did he do? He muttered. I leaned back, the pieces clicking into place. He didn't do anything. You did. And now we're paying for it. The first signs of collapse came subtly, like cracks spiderwebbing across glass before the shatter. A soft ping from the monitoring dashboard, authentication failure on the client portal. Then another, billing sync error. Within minutes, alerts multiplied, overlapping like alarm bells in a sinking ship. Our help desk exploded, phones ringing off the hook. Emails pouring in from furious clients. Payments aren't processing, one shouted. Dashboards are frozen, another wailed. Trevor paced the bullpen, barking orders. Restart the servers. It's a glitch. But our IT lead, Mia, burst in, laptop in hand, face flushed with dread. We're locked out of Apex's portal. Geo-fenced. Red banner, access restricted per Clause 14C. Contact your continuity officer. The words hung in the air, sucking the oxygen from the room. Then, as if on cue, a courier arrived with a sealed envelope, formal notice from Apex, service hold initiated. Time-stamped to the minute Ethan signed. Trevor grabbed it, ripping it open, his hands shaking for the first time I could remember. This can't be real, he whispered. But it was. Ethan's silence hadn't been weakness, it was strategy. Born from the slow burn of betrayal. From watching his warnings dismissed like yesterday's news. He'd architected the entire integration, knowing every vulnerability, every dependency. And now, with one stroke of a pen, he'd exposed them all. By late afternoon, the war room was a pressure cooker, directors crammed in, sweat beading on brows, screens flashing red across the board. European accounts were throwing certificate errors. Our biotech client, Helix Innovations, 22% of our revenue, was threatening breach. Trevor flapped about, yelling half-baked fixes, override the credentials, spoof a new officer. But Sarah shut him down cold. You can't spoof biometrics. It's tied to Ethan, his signature, his access keys. We bypassed full legal review to rush this migration. Remember? You signed the amendments yourself. The accusation landed like a slap. Fingers pointed, ops blamed sales. Sales blamed product. But the real blame circled back to Trevor. His arrogance, a toxin that had poisoned us all. Memos resurfaced, Ethan's repeated flags, ignored in the name of speed to market. The CFO stormed in, waving printouts. He warned us 3 times. This clause is a kill switch. Trevor stammered defenses. But the board observer's voice cut through, who approved tying our fate to one man. Silence. Trevor shrank, the weight of his hubris crushing him. Outside, I imagined Ethan driving away, hands steady on the wheel, the hurt in his chest transforming into quiet resolve. He'd built this trap not out of spite, but from the deep scar of being undervalued, betrayed by the very system he'd propped up. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, the outages escalated, full blackout on document vaults, read-only mode on internal tools. Clients bailed, lawsuits loomed. Trevor whispered futile plans. But we all knew this was no accident. It was Ethan's revenge. silent and surgical. The price of our collective blindness. In a quiet cafe across the river in Jersey, Ethan sat with a crisp-suited rep from Apex, sliding over a folder. Summit Solutions is ready to assume transitional authority. All mirrors in place. Continuity seamless. The rep nodded. Your old firm is scrambling. Ethan offered a faint smile, laced with the bitterness of years swallowed in silence. They always do when they discard the wrong piece. Summit wasn't just a vendor, it was Ethan's shadow empire. Co-founded in secrecy. Staffed with loyal allies he'd mentored. He'd planned for this betrayal, turning his pain into a fortress. Back at HQ, dashboards flickered with a new tag, Summit Solutions active. Trevor went ghost white. This is his company? I nodded. He didn't just leave. He took the reins. The next morning, chaos reigned, millions in lost transactions. Helix terminating at dawn. The board summoned Trevor like a lamb to slaughter. You fired the Keystone after ignoring his warnings. He had no defense. Just hollow eyes. They floated, rehiring Ethan. But Sarah's email sealed it. Apex deferred to him alone. Trevor slumped, we beg. Then. But Ethan wasn't coming back as an employee. He arrived in jeans, folder in hand, exuding the calm of a man who'd alchemized hurt into power. Sign the NDA first, he said. Voice even. Trevor did. Hands trembling. Ethan's terms, 6-month provisional from Summit. Triple the cost. Full control. I'm not returning, he stated. Eyes locking on Trevor. You disabled your own safeguard. Now pay the premium. The board signed by noon. No choice left. Systems revived. But at what cost? Trevor demoted to obscurity. His career ashes. I declined their offer for Ethan's role, joined Summit instead. As I left, spotting Ethan's card, continuity restored. In the end, the silence he'd endured became our loudest lesson, the price of betrayal. Paid in full.